The UK has warned Russia it'll face severe economic sanctions if it installs a pro-Kremlin government in Ukraine. Britain accused Russian officials of contacting former Ukrainian politicians as part of plans to overthrow the government and install a puppet regime. The Kremlin has previously propped up the campaigns of leadership candidates in annexed Crimea and separatist-held areas such as the Donbass region. Russia's foreign ministry has dismissed the comments as disinformation, accusing the UK of escalating tensions over Ukraine. Joining us live now is Liberal MP Dave Sharma to get his thoughts on this. Dave, good to see you. So, I mean, does it surprise you? Russia's denying it, of course, as we just mentioned there, but does it surprise you that Russia would try and install a pro-Kremlin puppet in Kyiv, which it's done before?
No, absolutely not. It's consistent with the sort of behaviour and attitude they've been showing to most countries near their region recently. I mean, they've just been, obviously they annexed Crimea some time ago, but they've been interfering in Belarus to prop up the government there, in Kyrgyzstan as well to prop up the government there, leaders of their choice as well. And it's clear they don't like the government in Ukraine. They're threatening war with Ukraine. And I think they would like to see a pro-Kremlin government in Kyiv. And this is just part of pretty broad assault on Ukrainian sovereignty and Ukrainian freedom that's underway right now.
Yeah, I mean, I covered the war in 2014 in great detail, being on the ground, and I remember they ousted Viktor Yanukovych at the time. He was a pro-Kremlin Ukrainian president who was siphoning off cash for himself. So it didn't end well for him because he was chased out of town. So would Ukraine even accept another pro-Kremlin puppet?
Look, I don't think so. I think Ukraine has matured a lot politically over the last several years. The current president was popularly elected. He still remains popular. He's obviously facing a difficult time on his eastern front. But I think the Russian annexation of Crimea and then their effective carving out of a part of eastern Ukraine, the Donbass region, for themselves has really helped forge a stronger sense of national identity amongst Ukrainians in Kyiv, and they're fighting very hard to defend their government and defend their freedom. They don't want to become another Soviet satellite. They don't want to become another colony of Russia. They have a strong sense of their own national identity, and they want to see that preserved.
So do you believe that war is on the way, or do you believe that there's just plenty of sabre rattling going on at the moment?
I think the risks of war are as high in Europe as we've seen for many decades. I mean, the Kremlin has, 106,000 troops, highly prepared, highly ready across Ukraine's eastern frontiers. There have been cyber attacks, as we've seen news reports of. There have also been intelligence reports that the Russians are helping to engineer or doing the groundwork, if you like, to engineer the pretext for an invasion, a so-called false flag operation. And then there are these reports today coming from United Kingdom intelligence that the Kremlin is looking at grooming pliable political successors in Kyiv. So this has all the hallmarks of an attempt, if you like, for Russia to carve out what they see as a sphere of influence in Eastern Europe.
And at what point would our embassy in Kyiv have to be vacated? Is there a point where they would have to do that, or would you just sit tight?
I don't think we're at that point yet. Obviously, there has been no invasion yet. I certainly hope there isn't.
Sort of down the track, I suppose, if war were to happen.
Look, I think we'd have to obviously make a decision at the time. We'd like to keep our embassy there as long as possible, but the safety and security of our overseas personnel, including our diplomats, is always our highest priority. So if we need to remove them from harm's way, we will. But I think that's some considerable way off. I'm just making the point, though, that tension there is very high, and we need to make clear in the West that there will be a high price to pay if Russia goes ahead and violates any number of international norms and invades the Ukraine.
Hey, just a final one here. The Prime Minister's WeChat account, it appears to have been hacked. I mean, I'm not sure how many of our politicians actually have WeChat accounts, but what do you make of that story, Dave?
Look, it's unsurprising, I'd say. Obviously, WeChat is a Chinese platform. It's like any Chinese media outlet, it is ultimately controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. And so we don't have a lot of control over what they decide to do with those platforms. I think the Prime Minister had done the right thing by opening a WeChat account to use it to communicate to the Chinese diaspora. But I think what it shows is that, look, maybe this was a malicious hack, but I think more likely than not it was state sanctioned, and it shows the attitude towards free speech and freedom of expression that comes out of Beijing.
OK, Dave Sharma, good to see you as always. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Peter. Nice to join you.